Please go ahead, sir.
Okay. I don't know. I just couldn't see my camera's off. So, good afternoon to all. Thank you, members of industry from India and France, members from the speakers for this afternoon. A very good afternoon to all of you. I hope all of you are doing well, and during these hard times. I think each one of us across the globe has been hit hard and hit really, really hard. None of us was prepared for this. It's a black swan event, and we have not seen something like this in the past before. In the last 5 months of COVID, there have been many changes and challenges that we have seen in our lives, whether it is adapting to work from home, moving work online, or interacting with someone virtually. What we learned in the last 5 months is something which would have never learned in next 5 years as well. But this work from home is something which all of us have learned how to adapt. And I think that's what is going to continue going forward. Economies and business worldwide have been shaken with the aftermath of this pandemic. We have also seen many promising developments across the world, and I hope we see a vaccine coming through for us. God bless us all, and we see it very, very quickly. I think all of us are all earning to go back to work, earning to go back to the hills, earning to go back to our holidays, and back to work as well. I would like to thank the Honorable Minister Shri Piyush Goyal ji, Minister for Commerce and Industry and Railways, Government of India, Mr. Frank Riester, Minister Delegate for Foreign Trade and Economic Attractiveness, attached to the Minister for Europe and Foreign Affairs, Government of France, for accepting our invitation to address this webinar on India-French partnership jointly organized by ASSOCHAM and IFCCI to discuss business continuity between the two great nations of the world. I can but not miss. I am also very, very grateful to His Excellency, Mr. Emmanuel Lenin, French Ambassador of India, without whose support this afternoon would have not been possible. Thank you so much, Your Excellency, for helping us through this entire process. And we are very happy to see such a large turnout. India and France have been close allies for a long time and share a special strategic relationship, which makes both the countries unite together to face the challenges of terrorism, climate change, environment, and many more global concerns. The areas of defense and security cooperation, space cooperation, civil nuclear cooperation constitute the principal pillars of a strategic partnership that was started decades before. 1998 is what I'm told is when it started. India and France are also increasingly engaged in new areas of cooperation, such as International Solar Alliance, which is an excellent example that speaks of willingness of the two countries in leading a global discourse and action in dealing with the climate change. Further, the two countries are also looking at new areas of cooperation in skill development, civil aviation, IT, space, cybersecurity, education, research, and many other areas to enhance this economic cooperation. The leaders of both nations exhibit special warmth in their relationship that has helped India and France bonding reach new heights. The global leadership qualities of our Honorable Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, and French President Emmanuel Macron have helped both nations work towards the advancement of India-France relations to take a new meaning, a new dimension, and a new depth. This relationship has continued. There have been business delegations going to France and coming from France. There have been multiple interactions at multiple levels, especially when President Macron invited Prime Minister Modi as a special invitee to the 45th G7 summit is in itself a testament of the growing relationship and the partnership that one is talking about between the two leaders. This has continued during this period of COVID crisis, and there has been a credit financing arrangement that has been signed between the two countries, and we are very happy to note that France has agreed to, has committed $200 million, which will not only optimize and scale up India's existing social protection measures, which is the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana, and the benefits would go to low-income family groups and the essential medical staff that are fighting the pandemic. And I'm sure, and this is once again, I would take this to His Excellency, the Ambassador Emmanuel, that it is the Embassy of India, I'm sure, who has played an excellent role in this, and it clearly shows that India and France are not friends only in good times, but they are even better in the difficult times. Another great way to show and express solidarity is involvement of French companies in corporate social responsibility. They worked together to create the ventilators, they worked and they helped us create the ICU beds in multiple places. I think there is a lot that can be said between the relationship that the two countries exhibit and display, and I'm sure this will go further. We are confident with the continued commitment at the highest level on both sides, new goals will be put up among the Indian and French industry. ASSOCHAM, as an apex chamber of India, is continuously supporting the government of India and the industry in identifying policies that can be adopted to improve the international trade and bouncing back of the economy, which we all are very, very keenly looking at. We are sure with this webinar, we will be able to help the industry identify some key steps that can take to bolster these relationships, the business relationships, people to people relationships, the cultural relationships going forward. With this, now I would request Dr. Niranjan Hiranandani, President ASSOCHAM, to address the gathering. Over to you, Dr. Niranjan. You're on mute.
Honorable Sirs, Honorable Mr. Piyush Goyal, Minister of Commerce and Industry, and a very able leader in this country, Mr. Frank Riester, the Minister Delegate for Foreign Trade and Economic Affairs. Very happy to have you here, sir, today on this webinar. Our Ambassador of France to India, Mr. Emmanuel Lenay, thank you for being over here. Mr. Sumit Aman, President IFCCI, Mr. Vineet Agarwal, Mr. Anil Chaudhary, Mr. Ranjit Goswami, Mr. Deepak Sood, Mr. Kanwar, and my friends from France and India. Ladies and gentlemen, this is indeed a great honor and a wonderful occasion for us to mesh our relationships and take it to the next level. As we have already discussed earlier, this relationship has already reached a certain level of maturity, which we are very grateful to your country and to our beloved Prime Minister for actually wedding this together to the next level. Today, I take this opportunity to use the platform of ASSOCHAM in order to say, can we take this further? How is it that we can take it to the next level? And this new level is something which both our governments are interested in. On the second hand, we represent industry, trade and commerce, including small and medium enterprises. This relationship, which I believe post-pandemic can take it to the next level, because the new relationships that we desire to foster will enable our two countries in order to see that the binding that has been there in the past is not something which we will just anchor onto, but actually take off into outer space. This type of relationship which we are done is something which our companies and institutions are also equally interested. Trade and commerce between our two countries should foster further with investments both coming in from France and also our companies which have already taken anchor in the French continent, in the continent of Europe, will take it to the next level. The bilateral trade and investments between India and France, my view is that we could double in the next couple of years. And this is something that we are looking forward to as to how this trade agreement between our two countries can be further extended in order to take it. It is really Mr. Piyush Goyal who has led the different type of arrangements and agreements between various countries of the world. And I do hope that today we will be able to use this occasion to again step forward to a new relationship. Thank you very much for the honor that you have given to ASSOCHAM to bring this platform of trade and commerce between our two countries. Thank you very much, IFCCI, and all the other gentlemen who are here today.
Thank you, President. Thank you for this. Relationships, partnerships, association, and collaboration is the way forward. ASSOCHAM and IFCCI have got together to bring this platform, and it's given me great pleasure to invite the President of IFCCI, Sumit Anand. Over to you.
Thank you, Deepak. Honorable Minister Delegate of Foreign Trade and Economic Attractiveness, Monsieur Franck Riester, Honorable Union Minister of Commerce and Industry and Railways, Shri Piyush Goyal, His Excellency Ambassador of France to India, Monsieur Emmanuel Lena, our esteemed speakers, ASSOCHAM and IFCI members and guests. I'm very pleased to welcome you all to this very special interaction. Honorable Minister, Monsieur Franck Riester, your participation today is a strong symbol of the importance of the relationship between France and India. You have taken out time for this interaction less than 10 days after you were reappointed to the cabinet of the French Prime Minister. Thank you very much for this. Your participation today also represents the continuity we see more and more in France and India relations. You were here in India about 6 months ago when I had the privilege of meeting you. And at that time too, to build relations in another sphere of importance to both our countries as Minister of Culture. Honorable Union Minister Shri Piyush Goyal, thank you also for taking out time for this important interaction. France and India have had long-standing good relations over decades, though cooperation in the field of trade and investment, as Niranjan said, can still be greatly enhanced. As a senior minister who has an unparalleled understanding of politics, government, and business, we thank you for your personal engagement here to strengthen business relations between India and France. I must say I'm also personally pleased to welcome you today, sir, as a fellow alumnus of HR College, an outstanding institution for the reason you surely will understand. I'd like to welcome His Excellency Ambassador of France to India, Mr. Emmanuel Lena. Ambassador, thank you so much for your support for this event and to the Indo-French Chamber of Commerce and Industry, CCI France India, and for your forthright leadership in strengthening relations across all spheres between France and India. We are privileged to work with you on this. I must thank our friends at ASSOCHAM for partnering with us today. Niranjan, congratulations also on your successful leadership of the oldest national chamber of commerce in India. And this is from one ex-campionite to another. Vinita, my dear friend, this event has happened because of your openness to work together. Partnerships are so important even at chamber levels. Thank you very much. A special thanks to our respective Director Generals Deepak Sood and Payal Kanwar for their successful collaboration in putting together this illustrious interaction. Friends, the Indo-French Chamber of Commerce and Industry, IFCI as we call it, is amongst the most active bilateral chambers in India, which serves close to 500 companies in India and France through a number of initiatives. It has grown from strength to strength over the last decade, supporting our members, French groups who have tripled their investments in India, and a growing number of Indians or partnering with French companies for Make in India. 100 of the top 120 French listed groups are now actively invested in India, and most are our members. They're increasingly successful in India, and India is now either a top market or a top priority for them. They cut across all sectors of the French economy: aerospace and defense, energy, utilities, smart cities, tech, mobility and automotive, consumer goods and food and agri, shipping and logistics, healthcare and nutrition, and banking and finance. Amongst our Indian members active in France, we have TCS, who's here today. Besides companies from other sectors, such as the automotive sector. Today's event is on business continuity between France and India through COVID. Our member companies have done an outstanding job looking after the welfare and safety of their employees. And they have been fulfilling their social responsibility by supporting affected communities through several. On the business side, they had to quickly adjust their operations in India given the lockdown. But beyond COVID, our member companies remain optimistic about India and hope to execute on their investment plans here. You will hear from one of our key members, Mr. Anil Chaudhary, country president and managing director of Schneider Electric and one of India's leading foreign investors. Honorable ministers, I believe that business relations between France and India beyond COVID are ripe to move from continuity to acceleration. These are two friendly nations, free market democracies with complementary interest, common aspirations and values, and people who are in fact more similar than we realize. The importance of family, food, a good discussion and argument, and a proud set of people. Recent events such as Brexit have made many in India wake up to Europe on the continent. Finally, for me, I was fortunate to discover Europe 30 years ago, and in particular France, which is like a second home to me. There are many unmet opportunities that we have to fulfill, and you can count on us at IFCCI to play our role to help drive this acceleration. We look forward to hearing from you today, dear ministers, and thank you so much for giving us time.
Thank you, Sumit. That was bang on. I've spent a couple of years of my career working with a company called Elf Lubrifiant, which was Elf Total FINA. I have had my share of the French companies as well. And it's a great experience that I did. So talking about experiences, I think the best way to put forward is to get somebody to talk when he works on the land, and who better than TCS to talk about the experience over there. So let's get Ranjit to share with us. Over to you, Ranjit.
Thank you, Deepak. Thank you so much. Honorable Minister for Commerce and Industry and Railways, Shri Piyush Goyal ji. Honorable Minister Delegate of Foreign Affairs and Trade Economic Attractiveness, Mr. Frank Riester. His Excellency Ambassador of France to India, leadership of ASSOCHAM and IFCCI, and all participants on the call. It's a pleasure to be here with you all today, and very warm greetings to you all. TCS has been investing in France since 1992, and it has been a wonderful experience so far in the last almost 3 decades. Over the past few months, we have all been faced with challenge caused by COVID-19 pandemic. The partnership between India and France, however, remains unwavering and is an endorsement of the importance of collaboration between the two nations in the times of crisis. TCS congratulates the people of France and its leadership for a very disciplined and united reaction to the pandemic. I also want to acknowledge, thank, and celebrate the courage and devotion of the French health workers who worked completely dedicated towards the safety of the citizens. As a local, committed corporate citizen of France, TCS contributed its part by working together with local companies to ensure that they remain enabled for delivery of essential services. Let me share a couple of examples of our partnership in France. TCS was chosen to support Ipsen, a French independent life sciences company, to accelerate its digital journey. Total trusted us with its strategic program of Refinery 4.0 and partnered with TCS to create a digital innovation center. We work with Sanofi for improving their IT infrastructure to provide the best customer experience with the help of TCS machine-first delivery model. Like others across the globe, TCS as an organization with its own 450,000 employees based out of 46 plus countries had to adapt and prepare itself quickly to deal with the pandemic. We launched a massive global exercise to enable our employees to continue to deliver services through secure borderless workspaces model. This model ensured the security of our safety of our workforce and ensured that our customers' businesses remain unaffected by enabling them for remote delivery as well. The model achieves the productivity without compromising on security and with all project management practices needed to deliver as usual. Our actions are not a short-term response to the crisis, but marks a new beginning. We believe that such highly distributed location-independent work models are critical in making the future of work in a post-COVID world a reality. TCS envisions that by 2025, not more than 25% of our workforce will actually work out of our facilities and still make the entire organization productive, probably more. Many of our customers in France and elsewhere are also keen to adapt this change and work towards building a new, greener, and a more resilient digital future. Our new office in Paris, La Défense, opened in mid-July. It has been designed to fit the strategy and promote collaborative ways of working and ideation. TCS remains committed to France. We share the vision and look forward to building this future together. I thank the leadership for their support once again to the businesses during these difficult times. Last but not the least, to ASSOCHAM and IFCCI for this opportunity to share my experiences. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ranjit. That was a perfect example of how we at India were able to deliver services across the globe. In 15 days after the lockdown, we were able to get our services, IT services for the world up and about. And as per the data provided by NASCOM, I think we were 100%, and we were able to keep our promises across. Opening and operating was a challenge all over the world, but I think we managed it well and managing it still as we go along. Let me get Anil Chaudhary, country president and MD, Schneider Electric, to share his experience of India.
Thank you, Deepak. Honorable Minister of Commerce, Industry and Railways, Government of India, Shri Piyush Goyal ji, Mr. Frank Riester, Minister Delegate for Foreign Trade and Economic Attraction, Government of France, Excellency Mr. Manuel Lane, President and Secretary General ASSOCHAM, President and Secretary General for IFCCI, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Schneider Electric has been in India for now present for more than 55 years. We have set up a global supply chain in India starting from 1990s with about 23 manufacturing units. We have about 20,000 direct employees with us, out of which almost 2,500 of those are involved in innovation and R&D for India and for India for globe. And I will say that as far as Schneider Electric is concerned, we are committed for growth of India and with globe. And almost like 50% of our products which we are producing or services which we are producing in India are being exported worldwide. So in other words, we are more than vocal for local, and we are more than contributing to Make in India. Recently, as many of you are aware, that we have taken a large step to invest $2 billion in India, and with the acquisition which we have announced for L&T Electrical and Automation business. And prime focus of that is to strengthen our manufacturing base in India, to serve largely our large customer base in India, but at the same time to serve our larger customer base worldwide from India. And that also will create the fourth hub of Schneider Electric in India, in addition to France, US, and China. So as such, our commitment has been much more and historical, and we continue working in these challenging times to further demonstrate the solidarity between our two countries while working in challenging times, but at the same time ensuring that we are able to supply critical equipments, critical products, and supporting the services for mission critical infrastructure of Government of India, like data centers, hospitals, telecom infrastructure, and electrical industry, and more so the consumer industry, which was going through a lot of challenges in these times. We have also taken a large step during this last few months. As you know, that we have an international setup of our labs in India, and with the large base of our suppliers being from MSMEs, we have opened our labs for them to be accessed to develop new products, to work with us, and to take those products with our products as well as with other manufacturers globally. So this is a facility which we have now extended to our larger network of MSMEs, which are close to about 1,000, which work with us. During this time, with the Digital India initiative, we have also come up very fast with work from home kits, which we were able to implement with our customers for their employees to continue remaining productive and connected and working in the lockdown period. And I'm happy to share that almost about 95,000 work from home kits were implemented within a span of 3 weeks from the time when we went into lockdown. With a large presence, with a large employee base, with a large network of our partners, our social commitment is equally deeper. During this time, we have come forward and supported establishment of new hospitals, providing support for electrical distribution and secure power to the critical equipment in some of the hospitals in semi-urban and rural areas, And also, as part of our Tomorrow Rising Fund, which is a global fund which we have initiated, we are very humble to contribute to Prime Minister Cares Fund as well. And at the same time, the communities with which we have been working very closely, like the electricians, we have come forward and supported almost 10,000 electricians with cash transfer, in addition to a big initiative of Government of India, because that was their need at that point of time. So in other words, I think we are very much committed for India's growth story. We are very much committed for taking manufactured products and services in India to the globe. And at the same time, we are real example for vocal for local. Honorable Minister, Mr. Piyush Goyal, I will also like to submit here that with this kind of commitment, sometimes we face some challenges with some kind of, the actions which come from the different parts, which are not coordinated, like vocal for local. I think initially we have faced some challenges when Schneider Electric name was considered that we are a foreign company. So we have to take the challenge. So I will appreciate if at appropriate time, government can keep on clarifying, including the recent notification which have come from Ministry of Power, which is creating a lot of excitement when every equipment which is imported and from some of the countries which we know we cannot, but from other countries like France, has to go through stringent, testing requirements, creates delays, creates further lead times which become extended, which impacts our export. So I will request if you can look at that with your ministerial colleagues. It will be a great help for keep on accelerating our export and commitment to India. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Anil, very much. I think thanks to you and to companies like yours, the uptime for power and all infrastructure that has kept us, our factories running, our logistics running, also our work from home running. Thanks to you all, it's a robust infrastructure that is provided by technology company like yours. I think India needs to be a part of the global value chain, and companies like yours will actually lead the way forward, and especially integrating the MSMEs into this whole space is something which is very encouraging. ASSOCHAM represents a very large chunk of MSMEs, just to put it to perspective over here. With this, I would now like to invite Mr. Frank Riester, Minister Delegate for Foreign Trade and Economic Awareness, attached to the Minister for Europe and Foreign Affairs, Government of France, to address us. May I request you to please unmute yourself?
Members of the Indo-French Chamber of Commerce and Industry, dear members of ASSOCHAM, and ladies and gentlemen, I'm very pleased to participate in this event on business continuity between India and France during the COVID. I was appointed Minister for Foreign Trade and Economic Attractiveness last week, and I want to thank you for providing me with this great opportunity to address the French and Indian business community in one of my first public events. I have long been convinced that the partnership between India and France holds many opportunities. In my former position as a Minister of Culture, I made a very fruitful visit to Mumbai and Delhi last January to enhance cooperation in the creative and cultural industries. I am very keen to build on this cooperation, and I look forward to coming back to India in the near future in my new capacity. Because India is a major strategic partner for France, President Macron has asked me to keep a close eye on our bilateral relationship. Our two countries have been strategic partners for more than 2 decades and have enjoyed excellent political relations based on mutual trust and confidence. We have raised our cooperation to an impressive level in sectors as essential as defense, space, civil nuclear energy, or the fight against climate change. A partnership takes its full meaning in trying times. Despite the COVID pandemic, we have maintained an intense bilateral agenda during the last few months with regular high-level interactions, including between our leaders, President Macron and Prime Minister Modi, who will talk again in the coming days. We intend to uphold our meaningful dialogue on trade and investment as we are facing tremendous challenges. A slowdown in global economic activity, rising global trade protectionism, and overall increased uncertainty. We must reassert our shared economic values, or our commitment to working together and contributing to the expansion of world trade. I am confident that we will succeed. Cooperation has been a key factor to the success of our economic partnership. More than 500 French companies operate in India, employing over 300,000 people. And French companies are willing to expand their investment activities. I know that I speak for the many French companies listening to us today when I say that they are welcoming each and every positive sign about growth opportunities for them in the Indian market. And I know this enthusiasm for the Indian market will remain strong despite the epidemic and its aftermath. French firms have always seen their presence in India as a long-term investment. Of course, none of us foresaw the magnitude of the current crisis, but we all know that the Indian economy will recover and that its potential for strong growth is still there. French firms have long been involved in Indian programs, such as Make in India and Smart City. They have a long-term commitment with India. For this reason, they have done their very best to avoid any contraction in their workforce and to maintain the payment of salaries in full. They have also shown solidarity with India and the Indian people by engaging in many corporate and social responsibility projects. In a sense, this crisis, which has hit every corner of the world, has also given us the opportunity to widen our cooperation, especially in the health sector. India has been very helpful in maintaining a steady supply of medical products for French hospitals. France has reciprocated by offering an exceptional loan of 200 million euros by the French Agency for Development to help the most vulnerable persons in India access basic social services. Most probably, the world will not be the same after the crisis. This is true in particular in the economic field. Global value chains will probably evolve. Very clearly, there are many opportunities for India. India has many comparative advantages to attract more business and more investment in manufacturing activities. Many French companies are already manufacturing in India and are ready to increase their capacities. There is room for more investments in many different sectors. At the same time, I strongly encourage Indian companies to invest more in France and to strengthen the positive trends we have witnessed these past years. Already more than 100 Indian companies are operating in our country, employing over 8,000 employees. Jobs created by Indian investors have doubled in 2019 compared to 2018. We are proud to welcome increasing Indian investment in France and impressed by the value they add in key sectors: chemicals, automotive, aerospace, pharmaceuticals, and so on. I am glad to know that Indian investors now see France as a gateway to Europe and as an innovative country. And I'm convinced that we can do better and strengthen ever more our investment relationship. France has become the most attractive nation in Europe in 2019. For the first time in decades, according to the EY 2019 Attractiveness Survey, this performance is a direct result of the pro-business reforms we have put in place since 2017. They have definitively simplified the business environment, improved our competitiveness, and strengthened our attractiveness. And I want to take this opportunity to address the Indian private sector today to assure you that the crisis and the challenges we are facing do not jeopardize the pro-business reforms we have implemented during the last 3 years. Current and future investors can be assured that the French government is doing everything in its power to support companies during the crisis and to keep investing in skills and new technologies to ensure that France provides a greener, more innovative, and more competitive business environment in the post-COVID era. This is the essence of the new recovery plan of 100 billion euros announced this week by our President and Prime Minister. As part of this recovery plan, the French government is currently developing a full-fledged initiative to support the international projects of our private sector, and I encourage all French companies to remain committed to international markets, to looking forward and abroad, and specifically to keep looking at India as a strong, reliable, and promising trade and investment partner. I'm keen to foster the momentum for better economic cooperation between India and France across the board. We hope to sign soon with your ministry, dear Minister Goyal, a fast-track agreement which will allow us to deal more smoothly and efficiently with the difficulties which may arise here and there for our firms. I hope to hold the Joint Economic Commission between India and France very soon as the epidemiological situations allows. This positive momentum for our economic cooperation is also sustained at EU level, as evidenced by the successful EU-India summit held on Wednesday, 15th July. The EU and India have reached substantial results and in particular adopted a roadmap for the next 5 years. Beyond trade and investment matters, this shows that the European Union and India share a common view on international standards, on the principles of good governance and accountability, and on environmental, social, and financial sustainability. Importantly, India and the US also share a staunch commitment to the implementation of the Paris Agreement. This ensures that deepening our trade and investment ties remains fully consistent with our climate action and sustainable development goals. The agreement on scientific research in the field of nuclear energy that was signed on Wednesday is a great example of what the EU and India can do together. Innovation for clean energy, with a strategic dimension as well. In short, it is time to invest in the EU-India economic partnership. I will conclude by saying to all French and Indian business leaders present today that this pandemic is also an opportunity to be bolder and more daring in our cooperation to better face our common challenges. India and France enjoy a long friendship and excellent political relations, but governments alone will not succeed without the private sector. French companies, many of them world leaders, are ready to take our cooperation a step further. That is why this meeting today of both chambers is an excellent initiative. I warmly thank IFCCI and ASSOCHAM for organizing this event, and I assure you of my commitment and support to strengthening our trade and investment ties for the benefit of both countries, both our companies, and ultimately both our people. I hope to see you, Mr. Minister Goyal, soon, physically. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency, Frank, for your address. I'm sure industries on both sides are going to work towards ensuring more trade and business takes place, more investments go across the borders, and there is huge opportunity that is. Ladies and gentlemen, present to you Honorable Piyush Goyal ji, Honorable Minister of Commerce and Industry and Railways, to address us, please. So you are mute.
Thank you very much, Deepak. Excellency Mr. Frank Riester, the Minister Delegate for Foreign Trade and Economic Attractiveness, Government of France, my good friend Mr. Emmanuel Lenain, Ambassador of France to India, Dr. Niranjan Hiranandani, President ASSOCHAM. From my home city, Mumbai, I would rather meet you than be on this webinar with you today. My good friend Sumit Anand, who gave me a new piece of news today, that we have the same alma mater. Mr. Anil Chaudhary, Mr. Major Ranjit Goswami, Deepak, Ms. Payal, all the distinguished participants of this very important webinar on business continuity between India and France during COVID-19. At the outset, I believe you've just celebrated Bastille Day on 14th of July. I think 2020 is also going to be quite revolutionary, whether in healthcare, sanitation, economy, the way we work, how we do business, how we interact with people now in this new digital age. All of these things are changing. Change is not easy, but it is a must. And sometimes when change happens too fast, it becomes a revolution. I believe the whole world today is going through that change. And very often, we can't change the direction of the wind, but certainly we can adjust the sails. And I think all of us across continents, in government, in business, we are all engaged in adjusting to the new normal, preparing our people and our countries to work in a post-COVID world, new paradigms of engagement will lead to new way of dealing between nations also. But I do believe all of this will give us a lot of learnings. We will evolve as we go along. And COVID-19, in a way, gives all of us an opportunity to be bold, innovative, prudent, more efficient, conduct our businesses much more effectively, re-engineer our business processes, relook at how we are going to run different wings of our business or government. So we are working out how Parliament is going to work. Very often, if a minister is not able to travel or be physically present, we will have more and more engagements through video conferencing. Businesses are learning to work from home. Businesses are also balancing caution, precaution, maintaining social distance at the workplace. I think today it's almost a given that all of us would be wearing a mask or a face cover whenever we are in public. All of these new ways of our lives and our businesses, we have to accept, we have to adopt. And I think both France and India have been quite adept at adopting the new world, the change that we are all witnessing across the world. In fact, France and India have a huge, huge relationship. I had the privilege to be a part of Prime Minister Modi's team when we were in Paris during COP21. I think it was a momentous occasion when we also collectively, between France and India, launched the International Solar Alliance. I do recall the amount of trepidation and the concerns that will COP21 come out with outcomes as were demanded by the world. I'm delighted that India, which was traditionally seen as an outlier, actually became a part of the solution. And Prime Minister Modi himself played a very, very important role in the success of COP21 and getting all the nations to accept the various agreements made at COP21. Usually the developing world, the less developed world, had a lot of concerns around such international agreements. concerns that we would be put to a disadvantage. But the entire world accepted Prime Minister Modi's request that we'll have to look at differentiated obligations between the developed world and the developing world. I am also very conscious of the wonderful chemistry that Their Excellencies Prime Minister Modi and President Macron share with each other. We had the privilege to welcome His Excellency President Macron and First Lady Mrs. Brigitte Macron in March of 2018. Prime Minister Modi was in France in 2019. And this continuous engagement has led to broadening the strategic dialogue. Our partnership, be it in defense, be it in security, be it in space, civil nuclear cooperation is only going from strength to strength. And I believe this relationship, this partnership is resting on the bedrock of trust. It endures because both nations trust each other. We are like-minded, and in many ways, we treasure and value our liberty, our freedom of speech and expression, our independence, our republics, our democracies, our very vibrant media, strong judicial systems. The rule of law, which defines both countries, is truly something that we are all very proud of, and which I'm sure in the days and years to come will further strengthen the relationship between both nations. In India, we are setting new targets to expand our manufacturing base. The Make in India program is being given a further boost through the Atmanirbhar Bharat package recently announced. In India, we are very conscious that we are a part of a global trading order. We very much wish to engage very deeply with the multilateral economic engagement across the world. Yet at the same time, we very strongly believe that this engagement has to be on the back of equal treatment, reciprocity. It has to expand the engagement on fair terms. And when we talk of Atmanirbhar Bharat, India is not closing its doors. India, on the contrary, is opening its doors to much wider engagement, to much deeper trading relationships. We want to be a part of global supply chains. We want to be a trusted partner of international economic activity. And we believe that France and India are really not in competition with each other. We complement each other. France brings to the table very high technology products. France brings to the table items of great need and interest to India, technologies that we are looking for. India brings to the table several products that today would be almost impossible to imagine being manufactured in France. So in a lot of ways, we complement each other. On the services side, we have a lot to offer. As we heard from Tata Consultancy, that even during the lockdown, and the statistics that I have with me suggest that services sector was able to continue all its international obligations unhindered right through the lockdown and the COVID-19 concerns. Right since March, no international obligation of our services sector has been a problem. We have not failed in any of our obligations. And the government and the private sector worked hand in hand to reorient policy and practices to make sure that this can happen. In fact, our bilateral trade last year has also crossed the $10 billion mark. We have a target of $15 billion that was set some time back. But I think Minister Frank and I can both agree that it's too modest a target. We must be more ambitious. We are both countries which can work in areas where we complement each other, where we'll be supportive of each other. We can provide a lot of activities in the services side, and even on the automobile side. Now India has become very cost competitive. Drugs and pharmaceuticals is clearly an area of strength of India. And the very fact that you have so many companies, I'm told 1,000 French companies work in India. Almost all the large companies of France have their operations in India. Nearly 20 billion euro is the turnover of French companies in India. So there is a lot happening between the two countries. We have to take it to the next level, for which many bilateral agreements have been signed from time to time to facilitate trade, investment, different areas like renewable energy, skill development, entrepreneurship, advanced computing. And I do believe that going forward, this engagement can really expand very rapidly, also because the people of France and the people of India have a lot of commonalities. For me personally, a visit to Paris or a visit to Nice is truly a delight. There can be no better place to vacation than take a trip to Nice. But as Victor Hugo, the famous French poet and novelist, had said, all the forces in the world are not so powerful as an idea whose time has come. And I hope both governments and the private sector on both sides can accept this reality that the engagement between the European Union, more particularly France and India, is an idea whose time has come. It should be taken to the next level. It has all the potential of expanding manifold, particularly in areas of mutual interest like renewable energy, space, defense cooperation, healthcare, medical devices, pharmaceuticals, maritime cooperation, the blue economy, which we in India are trying to promote very actively, education, particularly given the new ways of education that are now becoming contemporary and current coin. And this will ultimately lead to greater mobility between the two countries, greater tourism between the two countries, and our people-to-people engagement will truly benefit businesses also to expand. We in the Ministry of Commerce and Industry have a dedicated desk in India Invest, which looks at new investments, promotes new engagement to attract companies to come to India, work in India, handhold foreign companies, domestic companies through their business cycle. And I'm happy if ASSOCHAM takes the lead, or the Indo-French Chamber of Commerce and ASSOCHAM collectively take the lead to partner with Invest India and create a dedicated France-India engagement where we can look to directly talk to investors in France who are looking to come to India. We can provide a one-stop shop to handle them through their engagement in India. And I personally am happy to engage with any of your large investors who would like to talk to me, who would like to understand the India story, and are looking for more comfort in any form whatsoever. It's been a pleasure to address all of you through this very important webinar. I'm amazed at the participation that you have been able to generate. 313 people on the call on a Friday afternoon. In India, it's 3:30 or almost 4:30 right now. So you can imagine the great interest. It's about 4 o'clock right now. You can imagine the great interest France and India have been able to generate in the ecosystem. My best wishes to all of you. I pray for your good health, your safety. Please stay safe and take care of your friends, family, and near and dear ones. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister Piyush Goyal ji. Thank you so much. I think what you've just laid out, the partnership of IFCCI doesn't stop here, it continues, and therefore the two of us will take it up with Invest India, and we will create this platform which will talk to companies, we will create that discussion going forward. I think complementarity of both is very easily visible, and I think businesses will grow. So there are a few people who have some questions for you. And if, with your permission, may I take those forward? Vinici, would you like to come in, please, with your comments and your questions?
Certainly. Thank you so much, Minister, Honorable Ministers. And I have a specific question for His Excellency Emmanuel Lene. So it is, you've been here now in India for some time, and you've seen a lot of interest from both French as well as Indian companies going to France. What do you feel, sir, today, in the next 5 years, could be the extent of relationships that we can develop, and what is the extent of the growth that the bilateral trade can happen, and what are those specific sectors, so that you have seen a lot of interest from both Indian and French companies? Thank you.
Shall
I take the question now?
हाँ अभी वो जो आज भेजा था वो नहीं, उसके पहले वाला चाहिए.
Yes, you may take the answer now, please.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you for organizing. And I'm surprised. I thought only ministers would work today, but I'm happy to answer the question, though. It's a good question. I think we can do much better. We need ambition, ambition, ambition. As being stated by both ministers, the political relations at top level are just outstanding, comparable to none other. But for trade and investment, I would say we are below potential, but we want to do much more, because we believe in India, we believe in the long term, and we believe in the reforms, very pro-business that are being carried out. So we're going to do much more. Right now, the picture is we have potential. Market share for French companies is below 1%, just not understandable. And in terms of investment, French company, as you said, do a lot. I mean, they employ roughly 350,000 employees in India, but can do much more. So now you ask me which sectors. I think you have to, there are a lot, as Mr. Goyal said, we complement each other, but you have to go back to our assets. I think the first asset we have between us is the political relation which we have said, which means there's a level of confidence that we can engage in very long-term relationship in very strategic sectors. That's true for nuclear, civilian nuclear. That's new, obviously, for armament. That's true for spatial, but that's also true for very promising sectors like cyber, like digital. And I think we should push much more with our government, with ASSOCHAM, with companies on these two sectors in the future. Second asset, I think it's the know-how our companies have. If you look at the main challenges that India is facing for the next 2 or 3 decades, many solutions lie with the expertise of some French companies which are world leaders. Let me just name a few sectors. Take energy. I mean, and I'm not going to talk about nuclear, which I already did, but take energy as solar. Our companies are world leader, and right now in India, about 10% of the capacity is operated by French companies. Another challenge, urban development and transportation. I mean, our companies are most active for subways, for smart grids, all that make a smart city. So I think there's a lot of potential also in that sector, and giving the figures and the scale we have about the growing population in Indian cities in the next decade. Third sector, I would say agro and agribusiness. And this is, for me, something we really have to work on. With most countries, we have a lot of exchanges in agro food transformation, and I know that for India, transforming processing food is a major challenge. Less than 3% of the fruits, for example, are transformed. It's 6% for poultry, and so on and so forth. Even for milk, India being the largest producer in the world, only 1/3 of the milk is transformed. Huge challenge and huge know-how from French companies. Third assets, I think it's the capacity to innovate, and more French companies, they just don't want to come to India for low cost. The time where they had the call centers and things is over. They want R&D, they want to innovate, because they think your country is a wonderful land for innovation, and you can develop product that will be amazing for the rest of the world. So I think we have to work more and more on fintech, on renewable energies, and on innovation in general. And I'm very enthusiastic and very optimistic, given the level of support I can feel. And with 2 ministers taking part to this webinar, I feel very confident for the future, and looking forward to greeting Minister Riester in India, and of course Minister Goyal as a permanent invitation to my country. Thank you.
Excellency Emmanuel, thank you so much. It's his first appearance after his appointment, and we're delighted that it is at a forum of ASSOCHAM and IFCCI. Thank you so much. Minister Goyal, we have a few questions from the French companies. Are you okay if I may ask them to ask the questions, please?
Maybe all of them can ask quickly, because I have another engagement after this.
Sure. Can I get Mr. Alain Sofor online, please?
Good afternoon, honorable ministers and ambassador and other participants. Thanks for organizing this meeting and allowing us to interact with you. I have one question related to the transport activity, where we are established since a long time successfully in India. We are obviously focusing in bringing technology and bringing innovation to the country, and we need to understand better how can global companies like Alstom give more useful support to Indian Rail for their mission and projects through innovation and technology, and how is a company like India, an organization like Indian Rail, considering to take full advantage of this innovation in technology in maybe adjusting some of the evaluation criteria, considering dimensions like global possession cost, life cycle cost, and value of innovation. Thank you.
So may I get the other questions as well?
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Mohan Kumar, full-time director of Michelin Tires, please. Harinder, can we have Mr. Mohan Kumar? Can we? Mr. Mohan Kumar, you'll have to unmute yourself. We can see you there. You muted yourself again. Please unmute yourself. Can we get Mr. Emeric de Reynes?
Can I speak? This is Mohan. Thank you, and sorry for the technological glitch. Question, sir, to the Honorable Minister. Michelin has been a pretty large investor of over 5,500 crores, manufacturing and exporting tires, as well as knowledge from our Global Innovation Center in Pune. We are very much an example of Atmanirbhar Bharat and made in India and for the world. So yet with a sudden change in regulation mid-June restricting tire imports, we have got deeply impacted. So this might result in some future investments getting, in the timing of those investments getting jeopardized. So in this context, sir, your suggestion of creating a desk or platform to facilitate investment is a very welcome idea. Thank you so much. Question for you, sir. Would it not be important to protect current investors too and get additional investments from them to encourage fresh FDI? And therefore, should not serious long-term investors like us naturally be exempted from such regulations, safeguarding our investments?
Thank you, Mohan. Mr. Emeric, may I request you to ask your questions quickly, please?
Yes, yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Minister, for taking the time to answer our queries. I'm heading a French bank established in India since 1981. I just want to highlight that we have been enjoying an excellent cooperation throughout the COVID crisis with all the Indian authorities in all the states where we're established. The fact that the government has defined from the beginning the scope of services possible for priority sector actors has been very helpful. Also, the relief package implemented by the RBI has been a key factor of stability for our clients in such difficult times. I'm just having a question, and I'm talking on behalf of my peers working in India as expats. Most of them, a lot of them are facing an issue regarding the return visa for their family and affiliates. So it's a bit a trivial question, but for us it's important, especially in a season for the back to school season, which is going to start in September. So maybe a clarification on that side will be very helpful to all of us. Thank you very much.
And the last question I'm going to take from Rohit.
Help me understand that question. I did not understand it fully. Anybody who was able to pick up that question?
So it was around return visas.
Families, yeah, for the families and affiliates.
The families of expatriates who are working in India for French companies, their families are unable to return to India and there's no visibility. And therefore, their school term is being affected. And what is happening is a lot of them are now staying on in France, and then that is going to affect the top management presence for some of these companies who have expatriates and then therefore investment plans. So it's a small issue, but it can have important repercussions.
Sure. So, Rohit, may I request you to briefly ask your question, and then we'll get the minister to respond to all these.
Yes, thank you very much. I hope you can hear me. Honorable Minister Shri Piyush Goyal ji, Minister Mr. Frank Riester, and His Excellency Emmanuel Lenin, and ladies and gentlemen. I'm Rohit, representing Rocket. We are mainly ingredient suppliers into the food and pharma industry. And in India, we have close to 5 manufacturing plants. We are a part of the Global Rocket Group, and we have invested close to 1,000 crores in India. And now we are on our track to invest another 200 crores recently in the state of Uttarakhand. And many thanks to the government support, we have been able to work on our manufacturing site even during the COVID crisis. So my question to Shri Piyush Goyal ji is regarding around railways. Like I said, you know, our main raw material is corn. We are one of the largest buyer of corn in India. And presently in India, a lot of these food grains are transported in box wagons. So the bulk transportation of these food grains, you know, if it can be organized, that will help us reduce a lot of cost of loading, unloading, as well as bagging. You know, means today that is a big cost. Also, you know, can railways provide some bulk wagons for transportation of these grains? And also there is a need to develop some ancillary infrastructure like, you know, loading, unloading platforms, conveyors or weighing bridges, especially in stations where there is huge transportation of food grains. For corn itself, sir, the poultry industry and our starch and derivative industry consumes close to 20 million tons of corn, and a very less part of that is transported now through rake because of these challenges. So I would want to hear your thoughts on that. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Rohit. Over to you, Mr. Goyal, for your answers, please.
Thank you very much, Deepak. Very, very interesting questions. I'm delighted we could engage with the audience. Thank you, Mr. Alan Spare, for your comments about bringing technology to India. We'd very much welcome it. We'd like you to touch base with Invest India. Maybe IFCCI could coordinate that and help you engage with them. I don't know what particular products you're looking at, but we do welcome technologies which can help India improve its quality standards, improve the products that our consumers get. However, for government procurement, the life cycle cost concept is a challenge. The private sector, incidentally, values it very significantly. So Niranjan Hiranandani, when he wants to buy something, he can give you a value for that life cycle cost. He's a private company, he can take a decision. In government, we have explored this several times over. It opens up a lot of opportunity for misuse. The life cycle cost doesn't have very strict determinants. And then in any case, the decision maker is not going to be there when the life cycle benefits start coming in. So we have examined that, and I regret the government at least will not be able to accept any special preferences for life cycle costs. In fact, I've gone through that with Anil Chaudhary from Schneider several times over. And I'd like to be very frank and upfront. We cannot consider that, period, in government. But in the private sector, it will certainly be considered. However, if you have a new technology, which is not there in India at all, then we'd like to welcome you to come engage with us. Then we can do a costing from first principles and work out what would be the development cost, what would be the volume cost, and how we can give a longer term order to justify you to come to India with your technology. So it'll have to be a balanced way forward. But if you write into me what your product is and how you want to go about it, I'm sure Invest India can help you navigate the system. I was expecting the Michelin question. In fact, when it wasn't the first question, I was surprised, Mohan Kumarji. Clearly, I can tell you that the restriction on tire imports was not meant for Europe or France, certainly. There was a problem about some countries sending in tires of very low quality, but stopping our Indian tires from going into their country. So it was the French gentleman may not be able to understand, but I think our Indian friends will understand. There was a Hindi movie song, "Kahin pe nigahein, kahin pe nishana." So it's somewhat like that Michelin has come into the crossfire. But I'm talking to that country also to sort out the issues with them. Having said that, I did study the Michelin story when it was put up to me. I find that you're also doing a lot of trading activity instead of manufacturing in India. So I would urge you to have a look at why you need to trade, such large volumes of tires and how you can expand the manufacturing in India of those products also. But in any case, I think you are in touch with DGFT, you made your applications, they would be processed in due course. But I do think you may like to address this issue also, that why, whether this manufacturing facility is inadequate, or are we really manufacturing also here, or are you only trading? There's some unclarity in the whole process with them. To my friend Emeric de Renis, very fair point. I'm sure Ambassador will also take it up. I will also take it up with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. It's a logical point. And I think as we are opening up economic activity and opening up for the air traffic between France and India, which got finalized yesterday, I think this should be a logical outcome. I'll certainly take up this matter. Only concern would be I don't think any school or college is opening up very quickly. So you don't worry that there's a time-bound necessity because schools or colleges are still closed. My own daughter is working from home from India to US time. So she sleeps at 8 in the morning or 9 in the morning. My son tried to do that in his studies for a long time. Finally, he landed up going back to the US. So I know it's challenging working from home, but with the different time zones. But we'll try to sort out this issue. I'll consult Dr. Jaishankar and we hope we can sort it out. Rohit, you are music to my ears. You are my customer. We are looking for more of you. So please write in immediately with your request to the Rail Ministry. Talk to the additional member traffic or even to your zonal general manager, divisional railway manager, wherever your factories are located. Kisan Rail for agricultural produce is something we are promoting very actively. I'm happy to make sure that you get more of bulk transport wagons. Our speed of freight transport in the railways is at 95% higher speed than what it was 1 year ago. Obviously, passenger trains are not running fully. That's an advantage, but we are making a conscious effort so that goods movement can be speeded up. I assure you, you will get very good service. We are improving our goods sheds, the way bridges and all of that. If you want to pick up a goods shed, you can talk to the railway officials. We are happy to auction out new goods sheds also so that private sector can come in, maintain it to the standards that you want and use it much more actively. So we welcome all of you. Please come to India, do business in India, and we shall not be found wanting. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Minister Goyal. Now may I request our partner Payal Kanwar to sum it up and close the session for us. Thank you so much, Payal.
Thank you very much, Deepak. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank our honorable ministers, His Excellency Mr. Frank Riester. Monsieur le Ministre, thank you very much for being with us. Shri Piyush Goyal ji, thank you for being with us today as well and for your swift responses. I've taken note of the various ideas and the action points that we need to work on. I'd also like to thank His Excellency Mr. Emmanuel Lerna, who is constantly supporting IFCCI and who was very instrumental in putting this session together with us. And also thank you to Daniel Metra, and I know he's listening to us. Anil and Ranjit, your interventions were crisp and a perfect representation of Indo-French ties. Thank you so much to ASSOCHAM for this wonderful association. I think this is the first of several fruitful associations between both of our chambers. And last but not least, thank you to all of our sponsors. I'd like to thank TCS, Schneider Electric, SEGELEC for supporting today's session. So we urge all of you participating and listening in today to become an active part of our respective networks and leverage, on the network of our chambers to increase, your interactions with French and Indian companies. Thank you very much and have a great afternoon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you, ministers. Thank you. Thanks, Deepak. Thanks, Niranjan.
Thank you. Thank you, Samir. Thank you,
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Viniji.